Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You might be wondering why the Jeep is sideways and inside the garage. Let's go find out. I've been wanting to do this for a while. My lift has been squeaking and creaking and rattling along for a few months now. And once going up to the 37s, I've discovered some problems and issues that I'm having, and it's just time to address them all. With the 35s, I never noticed it, but once I went to the 37s, I did. If you could see it here, right there on the frame, I'm rubbing on the driver's side, but not the passenger. So what that goes to is the front track bar is probably off, and then I actually noticed it the other day. If you look at my front spring, it's actually pulled a little bit to the left because the alignment's off. The Jeep is driving straight, however, it's just not in there right. Now with the 37s, even with trimming the rock rail here, it's a little bit closer than what I would like it to be. So the whole plan is to push the back end about an inch further towards the back, rather. And then I got all adjustable control arms. Now, as the title says, you know, installing a Frankenstein lift. It's because my lift is a budget lift, to say the very least. It's coming with all different kinds of parts. My front track bar is actually a Rubicon Express track bar, right there. I have the Rubicon Express quick disconnects. It's Pro Comp Stage 2 control arms right now, and the 4-inch Pro Comp Stage 2 springs as well. The springs are fine, but they're not progressive. I would like, as I wanted to begin with, but they're not progressive. The rear ones are a little short, so whenever I flex out in the back, they pop out of their spring perch, and it's a hassle. So what I ended up doing is I found a deal through Rubitrucks on a brand new set of 4.5-inch metal cloak progressive springs, and my control arms, since I have the Pro Comp Stage 2 control arms and the bushings are shot and they're starting to squeak, Pro Comp has a lifetime transferable warranty through 4-Wheel Parts. I went to them and they said, well, Rubicon Express also owns them or is partnered with them. You can upgrade to theirs, pay the difference, and you'll have a much stronger, better set of arms. So that's what I did. I ended up paying a little over $200, I think, out of pocket. And once I take off the Pro Comp stuff and return it to the 4-Wheel Parts, they'll credit me the difference. And I'll only be out a couple $100, and I'll have full adjustability on the control arms. I'll have the new Metal Cloak springs, so I should have a better ride. Also, I am waiting on the Yeti Steer Smart's front track bar relocation bracket, and I'm going to add the Fox Ats Steering Stabilizer. In the rear, I am going with the Terraflex rear control arm bracket, because right now all I have is a JKS adjustable track bar, rather, and it's going to the stock mount. I was told, you know, you better raise them up with the 4.5-inch springs. This way you get the correct geometry and get a better ride. We'll see. So that's what's going on right now. I'm not going to bore you guys with taking the wheels off and setting up the jack stands. It's not a full lift install because I already have the extended brake lines. I already have my shocks and everything in place. It's just a matter of disconnecting everything, putting the new springs in, and buttoning it all back up with the new control arms. I'll go over the measurements of the control arms that I choose. Hopefully it works out. Since the Rubicon Express control arms didn't come with any suggested measurements in the box, I am following the rock crawler suspension measurements that they gave with their 4.5-inch lift. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully the ride height isn't too high. I'm a little bit worried about that. I don't want it to look funny, but it should be a better ride quality and no more squeaking. Of course, I'd love to be doing this outside, but right now it just stopped raining. We're supposed to get some rain over the weekend. It's going to be a tropical storm, I believe. So here's a quick before shot. What I did was I put a piece of tape on the bumper, measured it out, and right now with 37s and a Pro Comp Stage 2 lift, right to that mark, we're right about 29 inches in the front. And I did the same in the back. I figured to keep it easy, measure to 29 inches. It's almost to the top of the rear bumper here. You can see that there. I'll leave that tape on there. I'm gonna try not to move the Jeep unless I have to. But we're going to do a quick before and after and see just how much the lift gains. Granted, these springs are a little bit older. They do have age on them. They probably did settle. But every company, their springs are different. They all measure out to the same thing. They'll say 4-inch, but Terraflex is higher than others, and so on and so forth. So these are the Metal Cloak 4.5-inch. In theory, I should only go up to 29.5 inches at that front bumper and the rear. We're going to see once we're done here. Okay, so everything that could go wrong yesterday did. The cheap Harbor Freight jack that I bought wasn't tall enough to get the axle off the ground, high enough to get the wheels off. Had to go back to the store, return that, exchange it for a better one. Came back and I went to take off the first wheel. So I loosened the lugs to get the wheel off before I jacked it up. And I ended up snapping one of the lug nuts clean in half and actually broke the key. So here's half the lug nut, and that's the crack in the key. Not too worried about it. A buddy of mine has a replacement key for me, and 4-Wheel Parts told me since they are the Pro Comp lugs, they're all under warranty and everything. That's not my issue. This is what I found this morning. Okay, so we just got back. I went to a local shop. They had the tool needed to remove that broken lug. 20 bucks later, lug is fixed. And I got reinforcements now. JP's helping. Got the front 2 wheels taken off. The suspension is up in the air right now. We got jack stands underneath it. Put the jack underneath the center of the pumpkin just to alleviate some of the stress. We're gonna remove all the control arms, the shock, and the springs, and the track bar. Already removed the sway bar disconnects as well. So you guys see. Okay, so we have the first front control arm out, and as you can see, that joint is shot. Okay, so we have the front springs in place for now. The track bar is disconnected. All the control arms are disconnected. Just as a starting point, I have the front upper set to 19 5/16. That's a good starting point. The lower, we're going to be at 23 3/16. Once it's in the Jeep, if we have to adjust it, I'll go over the measurements then, but for now, this is my starting point. This is the issue that we ran into. The front driver coil is touching the sway bar link, and the passenger side, I have about 1 inch clearance. Trying to sort it out, figure out where we went wrong. So we have the front completed. We managed to fix the bowing on the springs. My mistake when we installed the lower control arms, we had them backwards. I had the adjustment side on the axle and not the frame. We reversed them, and that settled the springs into place. I added the Yeti Steer Smarts track bar relocation bracket. We readjusted the track bar, got the axle centered, and I added the Fox ATS steering stabilizer while I was at it. That's a really simple install. This has the bolt going through the side of it and the adjustment right there. The steering was off a little bit. We loosened these 2 bolts on the drag link and corrected the steering wheel to get it center again. As you can see, we have clearance for the sway bar disconnect. My sway bar might be bent from last week when my tire hit it. Oh, we'll see. This side we have a little bit more of a clearance on it. Now time for the back. Okay guys, sorry. The phone died when we were doing the rear. Just finishing up right now. I installed the Terraflex track bar bracket, readjusted my track bar, put it back on the ground. Everything's lined up. Tomorrow I am going to 4-Wheel Parts down here in West Palm Beach. They're going to double check and go over all my fine tuning for me to make sure that the Jeep is driving straight and driving properly. Okay, so not sure if I mentioned this before. The problem I was having with the sway bar disconnects touching the coils was actually because I put the adjustment side down on the axle versus the frame. Here's the angle. It's hard to see, but that's the angle of the front pinion, which isn't too bad. I'll go over the measurements that I set to. Again, I'm gonna get it fine-tuned tomorrow, and I'll record whatever I can there as well. Up front, I went with the Yeti Steer Smarts track bar relocation, and I added the Fox Ats Steering Stabilizer. I like it. It's not a huge upgrade over the stock one. My stock one wasn't shot yet, but I had this thrown in, so I said, why not? I'll put it on now. The alignment is semi-close. Still got to get that fixed tomorrow. That's part of what I'm getting done at 4-Wheel Parts. Again, I like to do as much as I can myself. Something like this, the install alone would probably have been, you know, $800 to $1,000 easily. But I'm gonna measure now, see where the Jeep sits. So originally this was 29 inches. And in the back here was 29 as well. Jeep is sitting nice right now. Let me grab a tape measure and we'll come back and we'll check these. Okay, so where it was in the driveway wasn't exactly level, so I moved the Jeep to more level ground. So we gained about 1.25 inches in the front. Let's see what we do in the back. This I marked as 29 as well, and I'm at 33.5, almost exact in the back. Now granted, these are brand new springs. What I had in there was a little bit older. They'll settle a little bit more. For now, the 37s look a little tiny, but I'm really happy with how I centered the rear wheel. Gained a little bit of clearance for the rock rails here. And then the front is pushed forward just a hair. Comes out past the grill, as you can see. But I'm not rubbing anywhere. Once I get it dialed in tomorrow at 4-Wheel Parts, I'll take it for a drive and I want to see how it does then. Also at 4-Wheel Parts tomorrow, they're doing some kind of sale. I think they're doing a car crush and an RTI ramp. I'll try to get video of that as well. So I'm gonna cut this here. I'll come back tomorrow, guys.
Get the neighbors.
wanting to test. We're gonna see what this thing does. Sway bar's disconnected.
That's all my forklift has.
That's it?
My
No.
forklift doesn't weigh enough.
Oh, it's picking you up.
And you're not even all the way up.
I could definitely go higher.
Oh, definitely. How far are you on the bump stop?
What bump stops? I don't run bump stops.
And you're not stuffed into the wheel well either.
No, I still got room. I'm gonna go up the RTI ramp. What does the back do?
So,
It'll still go higher. I'm gonna go up there. Yeah, because like when he started to lift it, the back came off the ground.
Stand on the back.
I'm gonna go on that side, try to get the back.
you want one? Yeah. A customer, he works at Venture Farm. He brought him to us. Definitely sway bar still connected in the rear.
In the back, yeah, the back still has it. That's so awesome. I gotta get some pictures. I think it still has room too.
Well, that's it for me.
Yeah. Oh. So I just got back from 4-wheel parts. I fixed the reservoir mount that had slid down. Got them about even as to where they should be. Just giving a look over to the Jeep. The lower shock mount has some scratches on it, but that's nothing major from scratching against the car and ripping the roof open. Up front, I did lose a Zerk fitting on the front passenger side lower control arm. That's not a big deal. The Ats Steering Stabilizer took a nice little shot. You can't see it now because it's up on the top of it. Somehow that rotated down and took a shot, but it's not leaking, it's working fine, so happy about that. The Jeep is driving straight now. They did lengthen my front lowers another 2 turns, I believe, and the uppers needed a slight adjustment. In the back of the Jeep, the arms and everything lined up pretty good. The track bar was off about 1/4 of an inch, so it related to about 1 more turn of adjustment, and that got centered. Drove it home. It's driving great. No complaints there. So that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed everything, learned something, hopefully. If you see something that I did wrong, let me know. Hey, I'll go back and I'll try to fix it. I love hearing from you guys and finding out what you recommend doing. As always, guys, my name is Tony. This is my channel, Team Mogo116. If you like what you saw, if you want to see more of it, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon. I try to upload pretty frequently. The next video that I'm going to be doing, we're going to be installing a set of air horns in this. I already have the onboard air set up, so I'm just going to feed it in through there. So stay tuned for that. As always, guys, thank you. Have a good one.